যদি সবাই ফিরে যায়, ওরে ওরে ও ভাগা সবাই ফিরে যায়, যদি গহন পথে যাওয়ার কালে কেউ ফিরে না যায়, তবে পথের কাটা তুই রক্ত মাখা চরণ তলে একলা দলরে, তুই রক্ত মাখা চরণ তলে একলা দলরে, যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে, তবে একলা চলো রে। যদি আলো না ধরে, ওরে ওরে ও ভাগা আলো না ধরে, যদি ঝড় বাদলে আধার রাতে দুয়ার দেয় ঘরে, তবে বজ্রানলে আপন বুকের পাঁজর জ্বালিয়ে নিয়ে একলা চলো রে, আপন বুকের পাঁজর জ্বালিয়ে নিয়ে একলা চলো রে, যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে, তবে একলা চলো রে। একলা চলো, একলা চলো, একলা চলো, একলা চলো রে।
Hi guys, thank you for joining the live stream. I hope the audio is coming fine, right? Aabhas ji has joined our podcast for the very second time. The last time he was here, he was one of my first big shot guests, and when I had barely crossed 1,000 subscribers. Thank you, Aabhas ji, for the second time for joining the podcast.
It's all my pleasure to speak to you, and hope everything is running good. All is well.
Yeah, as well as it can in Bengal. So today the occasion is discussing his two new books at the same time. We will get through them as quickly as possible. I want to discuss more the Hitler book. First, guys, take a look at these two books. Aren't they beautiful? See the artwork, see the cover. They are both really, really good-looking books. See, even the font, the page material, all of them are really beautiful. And it's so nice to hold a good-looking book in your hands, because we have let go of buying and holding cassettes and CDs in our hands. Even phones used to be beautiful. Now all phones look the same. So finally, some good-looking books as well. First, tell me, Abbas ji, are you still an architect, or have you quit that job?
No, I am still an architect. You can see the thing at the back. It's part of a section of which we were discussing just a moment back. Yes.
Oh my. then how are you researching all this stuff? How is it even possible?
Well, it's definitely the inspiration lies in the work of the great people. That so many great people who have walked on the planet Earth, and of course on India, Bharatvarsh, and your introductory video which you made, it is really very inspiring. And the whole crux is that way, that if you want to walk on a certain path, even if whatever it may be, you have to walk alone or whatsoever, you have to do it. And that is something which has been driving whole of a thing. If you have to deliver, you have to deliver. There is no other way out. And when you have got the targets, like you have to fix the history, you want to really get the true history comes and surface to the world, then you don't have a choice. Because it's always said that if you want to read a book which is not existing, then you be the first one to write it, right?
Yeah.
So perhaps that has been the core inspiration. It's going on, and it gives more of a kick to that when you are still occupied in a day occupation, and then you are still able to deliver the mighty books. You feel good as well, isn't it? That it's very satisfying.
Yeah. What we get to usually hear from almost all working professionals in India these days is that the work pressure is such that all they can do when they are free is get a little drunk, sleep around a little, and then drag themselves back in the office. When are you researching then? Do you take some days off just for researching and writing the books, or is it every day after office you sit down to write and research?
It can happen anytime. In fact, I am very handy with all the gadgets which I have. Say it's a phone, or I do carry a very sleek laptop, so it's very handy all the time. If I get any idea, any research is there, so my the doc, as in the Google Doc, is always work in progress. It's always gets fed by the things. It continues. So whatever
Hmm.
research I do, I will email myself that, these are
I
the
see.
things I need to read. So the whole library is being set up constantly. Whole writing is being done constantly. I don't let a word get wasted. As in, when I say this, I mean to say is that if there's something which I find very captivating, though I write non-fiction, but it's a
Hmm.
philosophical thought which drove through my mind, I will ensure that I write it. I write
I
it for
see.
sure. And many things come back into the book. Like, for example, Hitler's many part were written on uh, Google Doc itself. I was constantly writing, formulating the thing, and so it helps me going. It's all online, so it's not much of a task that
Hmm.
way, but still, it's a task.
Right. Abbas ji, how did you? What was your research procedure like? Because you come up with interesting themes and conclusions and angles. Did you begin with those angles? Like one of the very fascinating things I found out from your this second book on Babur is the recurring theme of him missing his homeland. And what pisses me off after I learned the concepts of settler colonialism versus other kinds of colonialism, etc., is that we were told that the Mughals love India so much. And in fact, in the movie Jodha Akbar as well, Ritik says that we are not like other colonizers who just came, looted, and left. We loved India, and therefore we stayed back. But Babur keeps missing his homeland, and that's the theme you came up with. Did you stumble upon it, or did you know of it beforehand from somebody else, and then found out research to back that claim up?
See, I knew partially about it for sure because,
I see.
but not to that detail.
Hmm.
It was a year and a half back or so, or maybe 2 years ago, when Sanjeev Sanyal came on a podcast with Smita Prakash, and he just said that Mughal never saw Hindustan as their homeland, and they always wanted to go back, but just as the road were blocked. And he said it metaphorically when the roads were blocked, and everybody went on making meme out of that, and they made fun of Sanjeev Sanyal. But the whole point, what he was making, is that there was no way they could get back. They always tried going back. There was some or the other reason which held them back. Of course,
I see.
Babur was somebody who was not a very he was a loser prince. He had lost his territories, and that's why he was called a chessboard king as well, as I have addressed him in my first part of the book. So as he goes ahead in the life, he comes to Hindustan. He's still having this quest that I have to, though my book title is Quest for Hindustan, because he had this quest to conquer Hindustan, but at the same time, he had a quest to go back to the homeland too. And that longing is always there till the time he died. And also, very fascinating is that this very legacy of missing the homeland continues. Like Humayun, of course, was not very stable king, but still, he also attempted to get back Samarkand. There was attempts made, but they could never be materialized very strongly because they faced a lot of opposition from the Sur Empire, here in Bihar and Bengal, and it was not easy, though, for him to fight back those Afghans. Then that's why he even took support of the Persians and even became a Shia Muslim. He got converted to Shiaism, angle which not many people are aware about. So he was already in a very back foot. It was not easy for him to do much, but Akbar did try really well. Uh, then Jahangir did try the same. It continued to happen. Shah Jahan did a very elaborate bulk campaign. A very elaborate campaign did happen to go back, get back the territories. And Aurangzeb considered himself Turani all his life, and he also wanted to go back to Samarkand. And Hindustan was always a station, a staycation for them. It was a place where they just came and just stayed back, and just that they couldn't go back. But the longing was always for the Samarkand. They never saw Hindustan as their home, and they never became one of us.
I'm sure you know that Dr. Ambedkar said that Muslims fight amongst each other all the time. Tatars, Mongols, Afghans, they are always trying to kill each other. The only thing common between them is that they all want to kill Hindus as well. Now, I never knew the historical aspect of it. I had just read that line from Ambedkar. But you got into a lot of that in this book as well. How much of it do you think was religiously motivated, and how much of it was simply the macho urge to conquer territories, and almost a secular secular
So,
desire of conquering?
So, it's ironical that people want to drain away the religious angle to all the conquering, which was manifested and rather done by them. And the reason being is because we were on the prospect of history writing where unity was the project. And in Bengal, that once a whole thing of Shuddho or Shuddho had happened, that what is a right text to be taught, what is not a right text to be taught. And this was something, this came out as Shuddho or Shuddho in Bengal, but Congress government, when it took over the HRD, the Education Ministry, etc., in the initial days, the theme was very clear that you have to make the projects of the book such that it brings unity among the Hindus and the Muslims. So the idea of unity among Hindus and Muslims was built on few lies, and in fact, Dr. Tharoor has gone on record to accept that yes, there were a lot of lies which were told, and or rather, he did not use the word lie. He just said that the wrong things were taught, and the because after independence, people were trying to heal from the wounds which they had faced. So that's why Congress government under their leadership ensure that the books are written in a way that they sanitize the whole of a thing. They bring it in a very different way than how it was. But the reality is that they were very much religiously motivated. And say for Babur, Babur declares very clearly after the conquest of Chanderi that I have destroyed Darul Harab. And when you destroy Darul Harab, basically Darul Harab is nothing but territory of infidels, or where the rule of Islam does not exist. So when you remove it, what you establish? You establish Darul Islam. So Babur is clear that he's establishing Darul Islam. Then he says that I am going to destroy the Hindu gods and goddesses just exactly how I've destroyed the pots of alcohol, right? So he compared our gods and goddesses with alcohol pots. And of course, he says that I want to destroy them. He compares himself with Ghori and Ghazni. And of course, Ghori and Ghazni are the two biggest idol breakers which we ever saw, the two biggest Butshikan. Had his inspiration were Ghori and Ghazni, not even Khilji, etc. So you can get an intent that he definitely had nothing good to say about Hindus or do something good for the Hindus. It was only to destroy them. And then the process continued, whether it's in the rule of the Akbar. Akbar did a bit of flip flop because of his political reason, and I do say that he was a very he was a very shrewd politician. A lot of good things happened under the rule of Akbar in the later part of his life, say last 20 years or so. But that was also very politically motivated because the Muslims were not giving him enough value, as a he wanted to become caliph, and those aspirations were not being taken care by the mullahs of his the court. So, and also Ottomans had kicked him hard. Ottomans were the caliph back then. So when this project did not materialize, that's when this whole harmony project, which was Dine Ilahi, came into the picture. And but he was also very cutthroat Islamist in the early days of life, and we saw how he beheaded Hemu, because though Hemu was we should call him Maharaja Hemchandra, he was lying on the ground unconscious without the weapons, and he just beheads him. And you can see the hatred what he has for the Hindu king. And it goes on and on. In the Chittor, when the massive Johar was committed, when Akbar is going to the siege of the Chittor, and um, just the queens and everybody in the royal household and everybody, the kids, 6-year-old children, the female children, etc., they would just all jump into the pyre. And they were also fighting a battle within the fort, while another battle was going outside the fort, which was taken by the great Rajput soldiers. And when the soldiers got died, then it's the commoners who took up the weapon, whatever they had in the house, they came up, and all of them got slaughtered by the Sena of Akbar. And so it happened. And to talk about the hatred, I will just give one more example. When in the Battle of Haldi Ghati, they were going, and that's when a question is raised by one of the soldier of Akbar's army, in the context that the Rajputs whom they are fighting, and the Rajput soldiers in their side too. And so he asked that, how do we know that whom we are going to kill? Because they are also having kind of the saffron significant insignia and things like that. So then Badauni replies that it doesn't matter, because whoever you kill, it will be an infidel or a Rajput getting killed. So just go and kill. How does it matter to you that who those people are? And it continued to happen in the reign of Jahangir. In fact, Jahangir and Shah Jahan had a typical rule where a Hindu man can not marry a Muslim girl, and if he tries to marry, he will be face a capital punishment. While in the contrast, if a Muslim man marries a Hindu girl, it's accepted, and of course, she would be converted. Right, she will be converted into Islam, and that's how she will be brought into the household. And so that was a legit thing. And the contrast was not possible. You will face a capital punishment. So in the era of Aurangzeb, we see that it went to just another scale, the persecution of the Hindus. So it was very much religiously motivated in whatever activity they did. They say that no money was taken, lakhs and lakhs of rupees was taken to Makkah. All right, it was transported, and lakh meant a lot in back then. It was not a small amount, right? So these all are misnomers that they were doing nothing for the religion. They were doing all for the religions. We have all good evidences from their own writings, and just the Shuddha movement of the literature, or the textbooks, or rather the Congress unifying project, which fed the lies to us, and because of it, all this happened. But they were definitely religiously motivated.
You know that Bengalis call the Indian rupee taka as well, just like the Bangladeshis do, and it comes from the word tonka. And that's when I actually found out that, oh my God, Bengal's Muslim kings were sending so much money off to Mecca, Saudi Arabia. What the hell? We were supposed to be poor anyway, and they were sending all our money there. That's how the tonka term came about. How many
Yes.
languages do you speak now?
I can see. I can deal a bit of Persian, and of course, Hindi English is there.
Okay.
Once upon a time, I was very fluent with Bengali too, but because I was
How?
studying in Cuttack, and
Oh,
a lot of people from Kolkata coming. And I come from a place called Hazaribagh, and we have a lot of Bengali family
oh,
friends.
yeah, yeah,
Hazaribagh is known to be the
yeah,
place full of the Bengalis, and
yeah.
so that was the reason. Unfortunately, I can understand it now. I cannot speak very fluently, but
Okay.
so, and Odia is something which I
Hmm.
was quite aware of, and of course English
Hmm.
Hindi is there. I'm trying to
Hmm.
pick a bit of reading of German, as in
Hmm.
also with the understanding, trying to get in with Hebrew too. So it's
I see.
all in process. So it's going on and on.
Hmm. So, Darul Harb and Darul Islam, I've heard that they literally translate to land of war and land of peace, right? And land
Yes.
of war because non-Muslims live there. Is that so?
Yes, yes, that's very true. Because land of war, land of peace, and well, there's a one more thing called Darul Sulah. This comes
I
in
see.
between. So Sulah is a land of agreement where you have stricken an agreement. So the first is Darul Harab, where it's the land of the war because you have to get on war. And once you've destroyed the Darul Harab, then there is no war. And when you are not going to have war, only when the rule of Islam has been brought in the place, because you're warring only for the rule of Islam. And once you have gone through, there's no war. The peace will prevail. Everyone will live in happiness, etc. Because Darul Islam will come into the picture. As in, when everybody is Muslim, when the non-Muslims are paying you the jizya, right? Or they have been brought down to the level of being a second-class citizen as a dhimmi, right? So what else you want as a Muslim? You have won all your battles, right? So this concept very much exists, and if anyone want to do a litmus check, they should frankly speak to their Muslim friends, ask them then what to feel about Darul Harab and Darul Islam, right? Or what is their view? Do they agree to it or not? Do they agree to the idea of the final judgment day, where even the trees will call out and say that there's a Yehudi hiding behind me, come and kill him? Do they agree to this or not? So it is incumbent upon them to annihilate the Jews. So are they agreeing to this or not? So these are the few litmus tests which anyone can ask and understand that what this faith has to offer to you.
And Islam literally means peace, right?
Well, yes, it does. And the peace, see, they're way to, like, when it is said that you have to go on the war to get the peace done. We all, in fact, though we were made a pacifist, the Hindus, that you say that Hinduism is a religion of ahimsa, But few days ago we just celebrated the Kali Puja, and before that we celebrated Durga Mata for the 10 days, and all of them have weapons. They are there to kill the people, and we also have this concept: the peace will can come only if you destroy the evil. Now this has been across the cultures. Now, Islam's piece is very, it's not very strange. It's almost the same line. But the problem is, in Hinduism, you don't go and tell that I'm going to kill the non-Hindus, because those religions did not even exist when Hinduism was breeding all around. It was evolving and the things were happening. But when it comes to Islam, it's that the quest is to Islamize the whole world. Like Christianity works on Christianization of the whole of the world, Islam also works in Islamization of the whole world, and that's the target. Like you are a project manager of a project called Islam, and you as a project manager are supposed to ensure the plan, strategize, and deliver the result exactly as how a project manager does. Right? You have to deliver it that way. So when Islam is existing everywhere, then automatically the peace will come, because you will not be needed to go to the war, right? Will not be needed to go to the war, and that's the only reason why Islam often goes on to mislead you to the final result, because the final result is the peace, but before that there's a lot of turbulence which is against the non-Muslims.
Now, do you believe that do you support caste-based reservations? I'm asking in a different context. If I get your answer on this, then I'll be able to ask the other thing.
See, there is two caveats to it. One thing which I have understood very clearly, that what caste-based reservation does is, it keeps the people away from conversion. So I have a very selfish way to look at it. Maybe one can call it out, because what it does is that it is able to retain you to the Hindu fold somehow. That okay, you will.
Okay.
But what has happened? It has been misused in a way that even when you have got converted, but you still continue to be categorized as certain, say the sect like SC, ST, OBC, etc. And then also people try to take away the layer of the reservation through it, right? So what it does is that my whole selfishness of seeing it as a one tool to not let people convert really gets washed away. But as far as I'm concerned, in larger picture, broader way, in the time of now, I do believe that surely the caste reservation should be done away with, because I have a friend who choose not to take the reservation because they felt that when we have already attained it, when my father had already attained it, and there's enough,
Right.
why should I opt for it? There's no sense doing it. And what it does is that we need to look at the avenues of the reservation based on maybe the economic parity or something like that. Maybe because it may be that you will need to give a, because there will always be a difference between a person who has studied with lot of setbacks. Say that somebody who has studied with not proper, the facilities of the light, electricity, not proper
Yeah.
facility of, somebody would be studying only in the air conditioned room, gets to the school in an air conditioned car, gets down there, and even the school which is dropping in, the rooms are air conditioned, the classrooms, and
Yeah.
he is always living that life. So kind of a
Yeah.
comfort which he may get to study something is not exactly what other student might get. So these are the few things which maybe need a policy remake. But surely, as a time of now, caste-based reservation looks like a hurdle. But I give you other caveat that if it is only based on Hinduism, it can be a great way to stop the conversions.
Yeah. I asked you this because you have written on this a lot. So until the time that caste reservations stay, shouldn't Hindus also get jizya reparations from today's Muslims?
Well, that's a very valid question which you're raising. But the problem is that no one is addressing the elephant in the room. Elephant in the room is to first realize that, yes, you were treated as a second-class citizen. So policymakers are not even acknowledging that there was a second-class citizen treatment which the Hindus faced, or the non-Muslim faced in the rule of the Islam. We are thinking that it was all hunky dory because we were all tansen in the era of Mughal Azam, and biryanis were served, and you were just doing Kathak under their reign, and Kathak never existed before that. So all good thing happens there. So until unless we first recognize and acknowledge there is an elephant in the room, then we will at least go and touch the elephant and understand that what is the depth of it, how it is, etc. But we're not even acknowledging that there's an elephant in the room. So, and if I put it other way, no, then the question arises that who is going to bell the cat? Because everyone, the kind of a mentality what India is in right now, the state succumbs to the street veto, and I'm very unapologetic about it. What it does is that one who has the power of the street will be the victorious one. You saw it in Shaheen Bagh, you saw it in Khalistani uprising, which came up recently. They just ripped away our tricolor from the Red Fort, and we just, we were sitting ducks. We could do nothing. And suddenly we saw that the farms law was taken away, and we said that the farms law nahi chalega, zarurat nahi hai uski. And so we have been succumbing to the street veto. So when we are already succumbing to the street veto, then the question arises that who is that great lawmaker or the politician who can take it up and say that, hey, you made us live like a dhimis. It's a time for a reparation. Jizya jo diya gaya, wapas karo, right? And the other way to look at it, is this thing, that I would say that अब देखो, Bharatvarsh is a country where we all are living. There are Muslims who are part of it, Christians who are part of it. There are many sects which are living. Practically speaking, maybe that the amenity is the only solution. When I say amenity, as in living together, irrespective of what wrong is flowing through the fate or whatever, because we cannot be constantly quarreling with the people for the temples or everything. That's a practical word which I'm saying. But the first thing is always about acknowledgement. Once you acknowledge, a lot of things start healing. Because if say that the whites do acknowledge today that yes, we did something against the darker people in Africa or South Africa. There was people are very vocal about it. You are ready to go and bend on the knee and make the whole world do it with you. So I would say in a way that it's a great acknowledgement which they are able to. This is what can the Muslim community come together and say that this is what has gone wrong. Right? We accept it. If this happens, I don't know if it surely cannot happen, but if it happens, it can start changing the whole dynamics. But what the politicians will do, politicians will be behind appeasing the same bunch of people. Forget that those bunch of people, and when they are already knowing that they're going to be appeased, they have the street veto. So all these things are never going to happen, right? So whatever state we are in, it looks very utopian, whatever we are aspiring, whether it's reparations or we are expecting that they will start acknowledging. Because had they got this sense of acknowledgement, then perhaps they wouldn't have been spitting over our Shivlinga in the Kashi, right? In the which they called that a fountain and whatnot. They wouldn't have been spitting. They knew that what is there. Despite that, they continue to do it. They were hurting the Hindu brothers, which they call that we want to live together, etc. So is there an intent to live together? Are they clear about it? I'm not sure.
Now, white man's ke acknowledgement se yaad hai a thing which you mentioned 5-10 minutes back. I remembered another incident that when the Vietnam War was going on, one American general asked his senior that we are a little confused about who to kill and who not to kill, who are innocent villagers and civilians and stuff. So his senior told him that don't bother about that. Whoever you kill is a communist. Don't worry. So, Abbas, I know you are not a geneticist, but do you have a ballpark figure to guess about what percentage of today's Muslims have ancestors who were in the end a woman who was abducted and forced into prostitution and into a king's harem and stuff, who are today, whose descendants today are devout Muslims?
So I don't have a broad statistics around it, but definitely have studies in which the K.S. Lal works on the Indian Muslim population was a very good work. He has done some fantastic work on analyzing about the Muslim population. So that book deals with first also gives you a figure that how many people we lost from 1000 CE to 1500 CE. So that number is around 80 to 84 million, which 80 million. which is quite a huge number. There's a huge
Right.
loss of population. That population is not about just about the people killed, but also people who was taken as sex slaves, right?
Oh, I
They
see.
include children, the women. So
I see.
it is quite a large number. So apart from that, we do have the studies which reflect that uh, very large population of Hindustan, which is Muslim as of now, which
Hmm.
exists, almost 60% or more than that are definitely indigenous, as in they are belonging to this motherland itself.
Hmm.
And most of them are in the stage of a third generation or fourth generation convert, most of
Hmm.
them third or fourth generation. So when I say third
Hmm.
and fourth, it's not very far that way. It's just 13 to
Hmm.
420 under 30 years. There's a
Hmm.
massive conversion which happened in the just during the period of Tipu Sultan,
Hmm.
the period of Sirajuddaulah in Bengal. Uh, in the
Hmm.
he had a very short stint, but still there was,
Hmm.
and he was not a great king as many people think.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we also have a lot of conversions did happen post the era of Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb was giving money for conversion. He had
Hmm.
certain amount dedicated for the male, certain amount for the female, certain for the children,
Hmm.
the older one, and that is how the conversions did happen. A lot
Hmm.
of conversion picked up with a lot of Muslim missionaries coming into Hindustan, as in
Hmm.
there was a just the post bhakti movement, etc., and the era of 18th century, when in fact
Hmm.
say the 18th or 19th century per se, when especially Bengal is a great case study because it saw a vacuum when the young
Hmm.
Bengal movement came into the picture,
Hmm.
Derujio, etc., and
Hmm.
that time drinking a whiskey and carrying a cow meat with you was seen as you are progressive. It was part of a young
Hmm.
Bengal movement. It was very much, and Bengal was very reactive about it. They were
Hmm.
giving the reaction. So
Hmm.
there was a lot of vacuum, and that's why a lot of distortions also happened. A lot of new movement came up. You would be knowing about the Brahmo Samaj movement, etc. The many
Yeah.
things did happen. So what was happening that
Yeah.
today we can call them out that वो ऐसा कर रहे थे या ऐसा कर रहे थे, but my recent studies or understanding has told me that the vacuum ऐसा create हो गया था. Everyone was trying to do something for Hinduism the way they could. Someone thought that maybe that making it monotheism is the way forward because they did
Yeah. Yeah.
not know. They
Hmm.
exactly did not know that what is wrong, how to solve this problem. And even today we bribe people. People may call it that what I'm saying, but this does happen uh, in the system to get a few things done. Like in real estate, I can't put in record. You can't get a house sanctioned without a bribe, whether you are sitting in Bangalore, you are sitting in Bengal,
Yeah.
anywhere. Even the
Yeah.
smallest of a house requires a bribe to be given to a BBMP officer in Bangalore or anywhere. It's a very
Hmm.
common thing. Why, I don't know why government never thinks about it. But so even back then, when these reformers, so-called reformers, were doing something, collaborating with the British, let's do this and all those. So I do see it as it was a kind of a bribing process. It was more like make you happy kind of a thing that हाँ sir हमारा ये काम कर दीजिए वो काम कर दीजिए. They were all trying to butter the authority which were there. So they did it.
Hmm.
So uh, this was a phase when Bengal also a lot of conversion did happen. So that's why,
Hmm.
by statistics, more than 60% of the Muslims who are today in
Hmm.
Hindustan are definitely very indigenous, and they are maximum fourth or fifth generation convert, and
Hmm.
it's largely because the policies, largely because the benefits given, the comfort. It's not because of the casteism, which many people point. Casteism has less role to play.
Yeah. Yeah. Any section of our population who is a little more well read than the rest of the population has, I think, an affinity towards critical thinking and stuff. So, do you think the Vaishnavite bhakti movement uh, destroyed or let's say discouraged critical thinking amongst Bengalis, and therefore a few generations later, everyone was trying to do Brahmo Samaj and Christianize Hinduism, Hinduize Christianity, and become Muslims, all of those things, because they
Yes.
just wanted to think and think and think, but it was blocked a little because of Bhaktiism.
Yes, perhaps, and I see. I very much align with what you are saying because see, well, in the age of social media, we can react reading a snippet or reading a book.
Hmm.
In fact, but there were a lot of things which was happening, and in fact, the
Hmm.
Bhakti movement of say even the Vaishnavism was a great step which they brought. Like
Hmm.
we have Bengal give great bhakti scholars. In fact,
Yeah.
there were a lot of great people,
Yeah.
and the tradition still continues in Bengal.
Hmm.
So, but every experiment is not bound to give you great result, because you're
Hmm.
experimenting because you don't know that what is going to happen. You're just trying to fix a problem,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that is what happened. And
Hmm.
somehow we, so like for example, we very blindly adopted Urdu, uh, and Urdu was adopted because it looked like the language by which you can converse with a lot of people. It became a
Hmm.
common language for many.
Yeah.
And while this was accepted, it what it did, it brought a big problem as an Urduization of whole of a thing, and the
Hmm.
indigenous Hindi lost its root. Like now, people cannot imagine Hindi without Urdu.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
like I am sitting in South India right now, but it's very tough for me to explain a lot of people from the South that Hindi is not equal to Urdu. Urdu is not Hindi.
Hmm.
And a lot of
Hmm.
people in the South do oppose Hindi also because they have a feel that it is Urdu. Urdu is
Hmm. I
not
see.
our own language. So they have this
Hmm.
point of view too. And so, like how they softly adopted Urdu, likewise they softly, adopted a lot of policies and the change in the religious system, whether it was Christianization or Islamization, making it monotheistic in nature, trying to say
Hmm.
that ek hi Ishwar hai, and all those things that happen. And even when you
Hmm.
look at the songs of the bhajans of that era,
Hmm.
you it may outrage a lot of people that, hey, how can you say this about Hinduism? But they were experimenting it for the good. It's different thing that many experiments failed. It
Hmm.
impacted too for the people to fall in the non-Hindu fold.
Hmm. Now, Abbasji, I have heard both sides of the argument on this case. Which side do you lie on? Which is that you know of Raja Ganesh, right, from Bengal, who converted to Islam for a while and then reconverted back, but then his son didn't come back to Hinduism. And some historians have said that he led to the most numbers of conversions to Islam in Bengal.
Yes.
Do you agree with that?
Well, to some extent, not to that large extent, because
I see.
Islam is such a beast that
Hmm.
it has many ways to enter into your household. Like
Hmm.
it cannot. So everyone has a different story to say because they don't have statistics.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
like, I'll give you a very simple example. You are living in a house, there are 10 people, say it's a joint family, and
Hmm.
suddenly 4 people start coughing, right? You get cough
Hmm.
and cold.
Hmm.
And 5 people will have different medicine to you. Say that, you take this, you go take this will cure you. And everybody is giving the medicine or the prescription based on their own experience for your cough and cold, right?
Hmm.
But it's just that but there are many other reasons for everything. Likewise, for the spread of Islam, there have been many reasons apart from those kind of instances. They're not very
Hmm.
strong one, because I do always believe that a lot of traditional Hindus are very committed to the cause. And land of Bengal today can be seen the way it is, but land of Bengal was full of a lot of traditional Hindus. L- uh,
Hmm.
like when the first term Hindutva was coined by
Yeah.
Chandranath Basu in 1892, his Hindutva was a traditional Hinduism. It had no
Yes.
scope for what Savarkar is talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and you can't expect the traditionalists to give away so easily. They were
Hmm.
very much resilient in thought. It was not something that people would just go, because people were committed to their devatas. People were committed to their Kul Devi and devatas. Like
Hmm.
still you see in our Eastern belt, the importance of Kul Devi and Kul Devata is very much. People very much
Hmm.
adhere to it. And there are the
Hmm.
cases from Gujarat, where
Hmm.
there's a lot of Muslims who still follow the tradition of worshipping their Kul Devi,
I see.
because whatever they could do, they could not get away from the Kul Devi, and she's still a part of their family. So somehow the tradition are not so easy to diet away until unless there's a brutal force. So
Hmm.
Islam, the sect like a religion, cannot spread without the force. It is not like that I'll just walk away and become a Muslim. It is not like
Hmm.
Hinduism.
Hmm. The example that you gave from Gujarat, are they Aga Khan Muslims who do that? who still accept their
Uh,
Kuldevi?
no, there are not a few of them are Aga Khanis, but few of them are also the in the region of the Katwad and all. So the Bora
Oh,
Muslim community. Among them, there
Bora
are many.
Muslims.
Yeah,
Hmm.
among them there are many, and many of them were Rajputs. So
Hmm.
there's a lot of Rajput Muslims too, and I am not somebody who thinks on these lines. There's a lot of thing called, oh, we are Muslims but we are Rajput. I don't believe it. The moment you got converted, you have lost all your right to call yourself Rajput, right?
Hmm.
But still, if I put facts on table, there's a lot of Muslims who were earlier Rajput. They still
Hmm.
follow the tradition, part and partial karke, and those things exist. And that's the reason why the whole movement of the Islamization of this whole belt of Mewat had happened,
I
because a
see.
vacuum was left. They were following the lot of Hindu tradition, so that's why this rose the urgency that you need to Islamize. That's why they became too kattar after that.
I see.
Yes.
Now, do you have Muslim colleagues in your office, and do they know of this side Batman identity of yours and what kind of books you write and stuff?
No
Do they think
clue.
of you as an Islamophobe?
No clue. And absolutely no clue about it. What they think of me. But
Okay.
I'm very open to discuss the ideas with everybody, and I'm very vocal
Hmm.
with my point. I never change my stance because I don't like to please anybody. I just like to please the truth, and so I don't know how they feel about it. And I have
Okay.
very good friends. I am not denying it. And
Hmm.
yes.
Were you always like this, fearless aspect of yours, or did something trigger you towards this?
So see, one thing I believe very strongly in Hinduism, and the philosophy of Hinduism, if I say, and the philosophy of Hinduism is very clear that विधि का विधान को कोई टाल नहीं सकता है. As in, whatever has
Hmm.
been tested, it will happen. Whatever the Krishna wants, it will happen.
Hmm.
And so, if we cannot control it, what I can do is the maximum which comes in my purview of doing for the dharma, whether it is writing the right kind of books, researching around the things, talking good things to the people, talking good about Hinduism, which I always do. So
Hmm.
that's what I like to do, and I don't show and express it very openly in social media, etc. But I surely am a very proud of being a Hindu, and I am very clear about it. And
Hmm.
I carry a lot of insignia. People who will see me in person in my workspaces and all my bags will have the badges of Jai Shri Ram, and the colleagues among us will
I
greet
see.
each other with Jai Shri Ram, and it's very common. We are very proud. Me and a few of
Hmm.
my colleagues are very proud to be Hindu, and though I never
Hmm.
express it on social media, but I am very unapologetic about it. And only Hinduism which gives me a lot of strength. The philosophy
Hmm.
that, as I said, that Vidhi ka Vidhan can never be changed. So whatsoever it may
Hmm.
come, and I always wanted to become a Fauji, and I couldn't.
Hmm.
So that thing is always burning, that I couldn't. So I need to fill those gaps, and that gaps can always be
Hmm.
filled after being a fearless person.
Hmm. By the way, a lot of people today know that there's a lot of casteism in Buddhism, but when in the age of social media and in a decentralized movement like Hindutva, a lot of people don't know, in fact, which idea came from whom. I think this happened because of Aabhas ji's podcast with Kushal Mehra, which doesn't have all that many views, but this idea, this knowledge that Buddhism had casteism is absolutely very common in the Hindutva movement today. But I think it happened with that very podcast. And the very next day, I also downloaded that paper and did a live stream from my channel, and coincidentally that very day another channel, or heated debates, or Sanatan something, that channel also did on very that day only. And because all of our minds were blown that what Buddhism has casteism, holy cow. How did you stumble upon that? Could you take us back to the memories of that research? How did you
Yeah.
stumble upon that? How did you even come to know?
Well, that's very interesting, because see what was happening, that see like any common Hindu, I had nothing to do with the caste. Somebody
Hmm.
who is least followed at, because my caste was never asked when I was in school, nor it was asked in my college, or
Hmm.
neither in the workspace. So I was
Hmm.
quite not somebody who would even think about it, what caste means to me or what jati means to me. It was a non grata entity entirely. But it just so happened that there was always a debate. There's certain side which will say that okay, there was the Varnas, there was no caste. There was certain side which will say that casteism is created by the British. The certain side which will say that Varnas were made into the caste. Someone will say caste is different, jati is different. There was a lot of views which I was hearing. There was a lot of chatter around, and so. But I wanted so being a student of architecture, I did had a subject called acoustics. Acoustics is a thing, the Greek word for principle of human settlement.
I see.
So how the humans settle in a certain place. So I had learned one thing, that people settle in the community, say that you are have got a profession of washing clothes, so you will try to be as near to the water resource, say the river
Right.
or a pond, and all
Hmm.
the people will be gathered together because you want to perform that act of washing the clothes. So by default, a colony will be created of a certain people who are doing a certain profession, and it was always very much in a way that it passes on from a parent to the children. It's a trait. Say that you are good at making a sculpture, it will pass on to the thing. And if you are good at making paintings, like not many people in my family still know that my father used to paint and he was a very good artist. He would sketch, etc. I got this trait of sketching. I was an artist, as in I'm an artist. I do make portraits,
Right.
etc. I like to do. I got it from my father. It's a natural drop down which happens.
Right.
So in the earlier age, where the corporatization of the things were not there, profession was very much family based. So automatically,
Right.
whatever varna, whatever family you would come from, you will start forming a certain, and that family's extension, that family itself will become one of the jati. This is what I understood from the principle of human settlement. This is how the things were happening. So
Yeah.
it was very clear that it's very tough to make humans alienate it from the idea of living in a certain groups of similarities. And
Right. Right.
say that a manushya is a jati, say a plant is a jati, but in the plant
Hmm.
further you have got a lot of subjati, sub
Hmm.
like in the plants you will have a species basically.
Yeah.
So it's more
Yeah.
about the characterization and definition based on the species, based on the birth, because a plant, the way it is birthed, and I knew all these things. So
Hmm.
I thought that it's very tough to imagine that Dev society, which was the casteless one. This was my first thought,
Hmm.
that it's very tough to imagine
Hmm.
that it's a very natural thing. You will tend to divide yourself in the group. It's very obvious and very,
Hmm.
even in the workspace. Again, this is not,
Hmm.
you're not doing a discrimination, but it automatically happens. Say that, I'll just give you an
Yeah.
example. uh, there are five Bengalis, they will tend to get
Hmm.
along well. There are five
Yeah.
Tamilians, they will tend to get along very well. It's a very natural
Hmm.
process of, the moment you find the similarities, you tend to get together. So it
Yeah.
was very tough to imagine that a society where the people are not divided into certain groups. They have not
Hmm.
set certain hierarchies also. Like even in
Hmm.
a office structure, you have got a hierarchies: senior
Yeah.
manager, general manager, assistant general managers, and payrolls. You are in a payroll 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's always been there. Like, so I knew that there's a Egypt in Egypt. There's a whole hierarchy. I knew
Hmm.
about Europe. So I was
Hmm.
thinking that when all the societies have been living this way, it would
Hmm.
have been different from India. India
Yeah.
also would be having a hierarchical structure. It would be foolish to say that यहाँ पे कुछ सब कुछ बहुत normal था. We were like
Hmm.
normal human beings. If it is happening in Egypt, it's happening in Persia, it's happening. It will happen everywhere. It's a natural
Hmm.
thing. Plato is talking about casteism in his Republic, right?
Hmm.
So then we thought that. In fact, I thought that let's look at all the religions. And
Hmm.
I began to pick up the text. I found casteism in Sikhism. I found casteism to some extent in Jainism. I found it in Buddhism. So I thought,
Hmm.
then Kushal was already working on it, because he has a stand
I
that
see.
completely anti. He's way completely anti-caste. So we
Yeah.
discussed, and I said that सब कोई Hinduism के पीछे पड़ जाते हैं. It is casteist, etc. But let's start doing a series of podcasts, starting with Buddhism, which is always seen as a Protestant of the Hinduism, as in
Right. Right.
her religion, and it was against the. But what the documents which came across the primary, so it said that Boss, they concretize the caste system. Forget they being non-casted, they concretize the
Yeah.
caste system in such a strong way. When Buddha talks about the purity of the blood and whatnot, so what can
Hmm.
be more caste? He's very much
Hmm.
Hitler by that nature, because Hitler is talking about the purity of blood, etc. This is what
Yeah.
our Lord Buddha is doing here. And
Yeah.
I is that, let's put it all across. Let's give the food
Hmm.
for the thought to the people. Let's
Yeah.
start with Buddhism, and then we will touch upon the other religions, etc. But we could never go ahead
Hmm.
because a lot of things came in between, and but
Hmm.
that is how it occurred.
Yeah, one of the most horrifying sentence, I can't ever forget the sentence from that paper you discussed. Buddha says that Brahmins are worse than dogs because at least dogs mate with other dogs, but Brahmins marry into other castes. So what the fuck? Now we'll get to your book on Hitler. First of all,
Yes.
what an angle! I never knew of this, and I couldn't even believe that this is a fact, that Hitler was in fact on pretty good terms with Muslims and muftis. And I have always heard this argument as well, that Nazism was in the end a sort of a Christian supremacist propaganda as well. So was Hitler a Christian supremacist or a good friend of Muslims, or was he both? He just hated Jews. What was it?
So to start with, the last line is very true. He hated Jews very much, and
Hmm.
his hatred did literally come from that Christian hate for the Jews, which was very rampant. It was not that
Hmm.
there's a the side of Christianity which hates the Jews too,
Hmm.
and today all the Christians stand with the Jews because of that apologia. That a lot of things has happened in the past, right? Even the
Hmm.
Crusades, they while they were fighting, it's not just the Muslims but also the Jews also faced the wrath, and
Hmm.
then it's the Ottoman Empire which gave them a bit of place. Of course, they had to pay the jizya.
Hmm.
So they carry this guilt, and I'm sure that this guilt has, like, the white people are very conscious about racism. They are, of course, there are white men supremacists who still exist, but they are quite conscious about it. They talk about it. It's not that they just that guilt is very much there. So that's the reason why they try to solve the problem, all the problems of the world, even white man's burden, as you call it.
Yeah.
So it's always there, and but for Hitler, what's very interesting is he was not a Christian supremacist, because he was not following the Christianity
Hmm.
what an Orthodox Christianity will like to follow. He was not even following the Protestantism. He was not even into that. He discovered a new religion called positive Christianity, because according to him, the say that I'll just give you an example. Someone comes today and say that I want to create a new religion called positive Hinduism, and I will strip off all the tradition, and this is what the positive. So just because Hinduism a word is added there, you may generalize and say, oh, ye to Hindu supremacist hai and he's trying to impose it and etc. But boss, there is no idea of Hinduism at all. I have stripped all the ideas of Hinduism. I'm just calling it Hinduism. So problem of Hitler was that he said that Christianity is a no, what exists today is a conspiracy of the Jews. They created all this New Testament, and they corrupted the original Bible. As in, according to him, Bible was not what is. It is also a Jewish conspiracy. Old Testament was a Jewish conspiracy, and also the New Testament was a Jewish conspiracy. And according to him, Jesus Christ was a man with a blonde hair and a blue eye, proper Aryan. And interestingly, this whole Bible, as I told you, that was a Jewish misconstruct. So everything
Yeah.
got corrupted, and he wanted to redefine whole of a thing from an Aryan point of view, as in
Hmm.
the Aryan, the Germanic people, whom he
Yeah.
saw as the purest of the race.
Yeah.
And that's why he founded the positive Christianity. He took a lot of inspiration from the paganism, no doubt
Right.
about it. The marriages
Hmm.
and the wedding would happen with the pagan tradition. He was trying to. So a lot of people, interestingly, in India, try to show affinity for Hitler, because
Yeah.
they think that he was trying to revive paganism and whatnot. Oh, what kind of
Yeah.
nonsense it is? Because
Yeah.
the term pagan was used for the people who have no organized religious system. Hinduism was the organized
Hmm.
religious system. Hinduism and
Hmm.
pagan, we are just having some common ground, that we are all are worshipping the same nature, as in we are a nature
Right.
worshipping people, but we are very organized.
Right.
We were never fringe in any way, right? So That makes us different. But Hitler had a lot of compassion for Islam. In fact, he went on to say that it's my regret that Islam couldn't conquer Europe. Had Islam conquered Europe, it would have created powerful warrior because Islam has reward for the soldiers. It gives them afterlife rewards, which is the huris, the hurs, and the river of the wine. So, what else a soldier will want? So, Islam is very rewarding. So, any religion which is very rewarding for a soldier is the greatest of the religion because soldierly spirit is what makes you a man. And he called Islam a religion of the men. Man in religion is the term which he used to use for Islam. And because Islam looked like a sect to him which had complete solution for the Jews, which no other religion had. And that's why Hitler goes on to say that Christianity makes the people weak, Islam makes people stronger. So one who is saying that Christianity is making you weak, how can be a Christian supremacist? See, I don't have, any. I'm not an evangelist. I'm not trying to promote Christianity, but facts
Right.
are fact. He definitely was
Yeah.
not a Christian supremacist,
Right.
and he was a great ally of Muslim world.
This is one of the compliments I was going to give to your book anyway, that I think both people from all sorts of political aisles can actually use your book to promote their cause. And this is what I think is a mark of a good historian. For example, Dr. Janki Bakle. So many right wingers told me that don't read her book on Savarkar, but I became a bigger fan of Savarkar by reading her book. Then Aisha Jalal. She is quoted all the time by commies and people like Jai Sai Deepak all the time. Now, would you say then that Navayana Buddhism is sort of a positive Buddhism created by Ambedkar?
Well, you are creating a great point, and I never thought around it, but perhaps it is what it is because it does not have Mahayana, does not have Hinayana system, so it has all. It does not have any system of Buddhism, so it's very much positive Buddhism. Perhaps you made a great point. I'm glad you made it.
Oh, great. Sir, this I'll have to get back to Jodha Akbar with that settler colonialism point, because we are about to discuss the alleged settler colonialists, the Jews now. Who is in fact a settler colonialist? Because I looked up the definition of settler colonialist in many elite university anthropology departments, and all I understood was that only white people can be settler colonialists. Would you say conclusively that the Mughals were settler colonialists and their descendants are therefore descendants of settler colonialists?
That's very true. They are the settler colonists, and there's no doubt about it. In the colonization, basically, even if you pick the definition is that you go out there, you establish your colony, and you start to rule there with the trading.
Hmm.
This is what you
Hmm.
do, and
Hmm.
this is exactly what they did. They did
Hmm.
not. They had their connection with their home, which all these colonizers did had. So,
Hmm.
what the only thread which was missing to make them the colonizer is there's headquarters. Like all these people had the headquarters of the head country where they're operating from, and there's just an offshoot, there's a colony, right, where you are
Hmm.
staying. And this whole concept of colony also comes where the CCL colony, where the people, the staff stay, etc. Because it is just your
Right.
quarters which you are given. You are just not your permanent home, but you are just here, right, where
Hmm.
your job is there. You are sticking to that point.
Hmm.
So they had Samarkand as their home, no doubt.
Right.
They
Hmm.
wanted to go back. It's just that the roads were blocked. That Sanjeev Sanyal made the point, and truly the roads were
Hmm.
blocked because they could not go back.
Hmm.
Right. So indeed, they were colonizers. They did
Hmm.
impose the religion upon us. They imposed their culture. They did exploit our resources. Right. They did take
Hmm.
money. They carried the money to the places, and so they had all the trade. There's
Exactly.
no difference between them and the Britishers or the Dutch, etc.
Yeah, it was settler colonialism as well as extractive colonialism. Both were
Yes.
going hand in hand.
Yes.
And in India, at least, since their descendants are not the majority, but Pakistan, Bangladesh can absolutely be declared to be settler colonial societies, right?
That's very true. They are indeed carrying it forward. They are the
Right.
commonwealths.
Right. So now tell us, why aren't the Jews of today settler colonialists, or why isn't the state of Israel existing on an occupied territory?
So it's very simple because, see, this was always a Jewish land. Of course, before that, the Jewish land, it was a pagan land. There's no doubt about it. But the history goes back to the era of 2000 BC till 1200 BC, when it's the Canaanites who are living there, and they have got Yahweh in their pantheon of religion, where he's one of the gods. And then the idea comes that we will establish a religion called Yahwehism, where Yahweh is the only god, or say the primary god, and rest of god are there, but he's not primary. Like in Vaishnavism. In Vaishnavism, Bhagwan Vishnu or Narayan is the primary, but every other deities are considered. But there comes a faith which says that it's only Narayan and there's nobody else. This is what exactly happened there. Then they said that there's only Yahweh and nobody else. So it became monotheistic sect, and it became Judaism, as how we know it. And they were living there, and they adopted that religion, and they had no policy of converting the other people, right? They thought that, and because they were all living in a community, and religions have always been a cultural practice. Say that you are living in a group, you just see that you are following this tradition, it's get adapted, and it automatically takes the form of a religion. The group of people come together with a book, they got a book written, which is the Old Testament, etc. And that's how, and the history goes back to 1200 BC, etc. They had been living. Then we see the formation of the kingdom of the Judah, kingdom of Israel come into the picture, and it's happening at least a millennia before the emergence of Islam, right? So Islam is nowhere to be seen in the same land. Slowly and slowly, the kingdom of Judah and the kingdom of Israel gets vanished, and the Romans are becoming the powerful people, and the Romans call this area as Syria Palestina. The term comes into the picture. It's a Greek term. The Greek take this name there, and so Palestina is again the word used for the land where the Jews were living. There's the Jews who were living there. There's no Muslim, right? The land was given, the name given to them. There's a sect called the Philistines back, set of people who went on war against Egypt. And again, these Philistines are called the sea people, or the people who come from the sea. And they have resided in the coastal area, exactly where the Palestine is, etc. The coastal area of the Palestine. That's where they have settled. But interestingly, they are the polytheists, and they eat pork, which Muslims don't eat. The Palestinians don't eat. They are uncircumcised people, which Palestinians aren't. So that's why they are different to the Jews too, right? So, but the Jews do. In their case, in the Philistines' case, the pork is something which is to be consumed. It's a very biased thing. So it's fallacy to connect them to the current Palestinians. And now, as the story goes on, the kingdom of Judah is fallen, kingdom of Israel has fallen, and before that, the second temple has fallen too. Then in 70 CE, the Jews come to India, the Kerala, the Syrian Jews, the whom you hear about, the Kochi Jews, etc. They are the one of the oldest sect of Jews living in Hindustan, and we give them place. So as the Islam arrived in that area in around 7th century, 8th century, 7 to 8th century, the persecution again became a regular thing. Of course, they were being persecuted by the Christians, the Romans, at magnified under the Muslims. It's just that a condition was put that you can leave peacefully, you just pay the jizya, but continuous force of paying the jizya, etc., was making their life very tough. So they began to migrate, and there were persecution. They could not build synagogues, they couldn't worship, etc. There was no freedom whatsoever. So they began to migrate in the part of the world, and as they migrated, they came to Europe. They came to a few parts of. Later on, they went to America. A few went to Africa. So the Jews settled in whichever place they could. They were just trying to save their life. In the rule of the Ottomans, again, the jizya was imposed, though they were welcome to live there, etc. It all happened. And so, if we quickly zoom into the era of 19th century, by then, the 1905, early 20th century, the Russian Revolution has fallen, and the Jews are being persecuted in these regions, who have already migrated from that era of 12th and 13th century. These were persecution of the Muslims, and when the post Russian fall of Russian Revolution, they are being persecuted in Russia, so they began to migrate in the area of Germany, Palestine, etc. And before that, just few years before that, the Zionism has come into the picture. Zionism comes into the picture because they say that we have been persecuted all throughout the ages, whether it was the pagans or Christians or Muslims. Everyone has persecuted us. It has happened because we don't have our own land, we don't have our own army, so we need to have our own land, we need to have our own army. So what can be best option, better option? There can be no better option than going back to the roots, which is Palestine. So that's why they start to come back there, and that's where the Arabs start to create objection. So the case is that they were always the inhabitant of this very place, the Jews. They were just thrown out, or rather, they couldn't face the persecution, and they just made an exit, and they then decided to come back. Then how can we call them the settler? It's just imagine a hypothetical situation that after 300 years or so, situation become very bad for the Hindus, and they have to migrate out of India. I'm sure it should not happen, and of course it will never happen, because I'm very confident about it. I'm just giving a hypothetical case. And then after 700 years, the Hindus decide to come back, and then they say, hey, you guys Hindus are settlers and whatnot. And because we would have lived in other parts of the world, so we may not be ethnically very much Indian that way. Maybe that we would have got mixed with some other races, etc. So it does not mean that we are not the authority of the land, or the land does not belong to us. We are just making a return back. We are just reclaiming, and that's exactly what the Jews are doing, right?
What has been the response for your book been like in from Jews and Israelites or Israelis? Have you received any response from them?
Oh yes, I am in touch with a few of some good scholars from Jerusalem, as in Israel, and they
I
have
see.
appreciated the work. And I have received a note of praise in a way, saying that it's the first time a work of this kind has come at such a detailed. There have been some work,
Mhm.
in fact, done by the Westerners, but not to this detail as I have done. So this book is full of 1,000+
Hmm.
archive document, all a unique document,
Yeah.
and there's so many
Right.
archival documents. That's why I had to put it online on my website, so one needs to go and scan
Yeah.
the QR code and go to, because that would be another 400 pages.
Hmm.
It received a good appreciation from the people. I am
Hmm.
looking to send a copy to the Prime Minister of Israel too, because it
Hmm.
also supports his claim, which he had made in 2015, that it
Hmm.
was a Palestinian who had pushed for the Holocaust, and Hitler wanted only to send the Jews, and he did not wanted to kill them completely. And I have got evidences for that, and which I have presented in the
Hmm.
book. So that
Right.
case becomes very pertinent. And I met a few people at the embassy too, and discussed the ideas with them. They also, and what is very good about them is, they were very cautious too. That they asked me that whether this book really talks ill about Muslims or not. I said no. This book is something which is absolutely talking about the facts and as how it happened. It has no propaganda whatsoever. It is just that I have just rebrought the scenes of the past through the pages. This is all I have done. And but I'm talking about the sensitivity that, like in fact in IDF also there are a lot of Muslim soldiers. It's not that they're not Muslim soldiers in IDF. They are fighting for the
Yeah.
Israel, and they don't
Yep.
discriminate. And they are the people who took care of Palestine for very long. They gave them the
Hmm.
jobs, but they betrayed.
Hmm.
And when
Yeah.
October 7 happened. But Israelis are
Yeah.
great people, and I'm glad that they're appreciating my work. And let us
Hmm.
see how it goes ahead.
Hmm. Now, this was about to be my second question only. Next question, that what exactly is the reason for the hatred towards Jews from Muslims as well as Hitler? What are their points of similarity, agreements in hating Jews, and what are their disagreements?
So, there's no disagreement whatsoever when it comes to deal with the Jews, right? Because uh, the the point is, Hitler was very determined to annihilate the Jews, right? He brought in the policies, the state policies were like that, and he was appreciated by the people. And in fact, the Germans of that day were supporting the Nazis. There's no doubt about it, right? And because the racial policies were like that, the racial thought processes were like that. Germany has a very important role to play in Aryan invasion theory too. So they were all over the place when it comes to making the things about the race. And long before Hitler, the ideas of the racism was brewing, and of course the campaign against Jews were very much existing there. And he had this intent to annihilate the Jews. because he saw them as one of the main problems, right? And but before that, a great propaganda was prepared, which is called the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. You can Google about it. There's a Wikipedia page about it too. So this Protocols of Elders of Zion was a text written uh, by somebody plagiarizing a play which had happened earlier, and in that play the villain was replaced by the Jew. So it was an absolute act of plagiarism. So today in Hindustan also, when you hear that, a lot of people would say that the Jews are behind every evil. This is because of this notorious document of the late 19th century and early 20th century, which was used by Hitler also to build his case that the Jews are the bad people. And it was a bad plagiarism. It's a plagiarism from a play which was used to make Jews look bad. And that's how his propaganda surfaced. And that's how the hatred for the Jews got percolated among the Europeans to a large extent, including in Russia. And uh, later on, he found a great ally in Islam, because Islam believes that a judgment day cannot come unless you annihilate the Jews. So, which also is a part of the Hamas Charter. It makes a part of the Hamas Charter still. It is very much there.
Yeah.
So, you who can be better ally than somebody who thinks that his life's purpose itself is same as your political purpose. So now
Right.
this is a political purpose of Jews to annihilate the Jews, but here the Muslims are looking at it as a moral responsibility, because that's a part of conduct of being a good Muslim, because you have to believe in a judgment day, and if you believe in judgment day, that means that the Jews are to be annihilated. And this is
Hmm.
what they were doing, and they were extensively working on it. And this man, Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, was a great culprit, and I'm very sorry that
Hmm.
he was never tried for the as a war criminal. He was cozied by
Hmm.
Paris, as in France. Later
I
on,
see. Yeah.
yeah, in fact, France led red carpet to
Hmm.
him. He was living,
Yeah.
he was house arrested, but what kind of house arrest when he has got butlers, when he has got the chauffeur driven cars? He's living in the villas of
Hmm.
more than 15,000 square feet with the servants, etc. Whatnot. So, what kind of house arrest it
Hmm.
is? So this is the reception what
Yeah.
Paris gave to him, and later on Egypt took
Yeah.
care of him. So he was never tried as a
Hmm.
war criminal, though he was one of the
Hmm.
forces behind the Holocaust.
Hmm. The kind of arrest I think Mehul Choksi, Nehru, they are going, they will face. Now, if Hitler liked white skin and blue-eyed boys so much, why didn't he hate Muslims or Islam? Or was that
Oh
going to be his
yes,
plan after he annihilated Jews?
no, it is very interesting because in Mein Kampf he has certain passages against the Muslims and the Arabs. So when
Hmm.
the book was translated in Arabic, those pages were expunged. So even a man like Hitler, who was not so easy to meet, a person like Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, right? It was not an easy meeting, and in fact he did say wrong things about Indians too, which Netaji rebutted. uh, that is our fiery Netaji. No one can be like him. He was a great man. But when it came to the Muslims, he did bend. He removed those pages which was against the Muslims. Can somebody imagine that Hitler literally backtracked? He backtracked, he removed those pages, and the Persia got its name changed. It got to be known as Iran, because the founder of the Pahlavi dynasty said that we are Iran, we are the pure Aryans actually, and we should be considered. We should not be facing the law against the non-Aryan people, which you are bringing. So that's how the name got changed, and then came in the place the Turkey too. Turkey also said that, oh no, we are also Aryans and whatnot. All those things, and these are very funny conversation which one can find in my book, where these countries are coming ahead and making their claim to be Aryans. In fact, Hitler went on to say that this Grand Mufti of Jerusalem is more Aryan than anybody else, right? And so Muslim became Aryan for Hitler, and because he had got this purpose of annihilating the Jews. And we never see that he had any plan to do anything against the Muslims later on, because he always worked with them, with them. They were the closest allies. The whole Arabic Islamic world was the ally of the Hitler, and they were very unapologetic about it. Like they would threaten on the street, saying that why are you picking battle with us? Because On heaven we have Allah, on the earth we have Hitler. So these are the kind of slogans which are going on the street of the through the leaders of the foundation of the Palestinian cause, right? So people should be very cautious whom they're supporting when they support the Palestinian cause, because this is nothing different than a Nazi
Hmm.
cause.
Hmm. Um, what kind of a person do you think Hitler was? Do you think after he had achieved everything he wanted to with Akhand Germany and the Jews, etc., do you think he would have betrayed the Muslims even though they were supporting him because he in his heart knew or believed that they were not in fact Aryans?
No, I don't think so, because he was very convinced. He was a very, he
I
was not
see.
a man who would not who would do anything without conviction. He was very convinced,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
he saw Grand Mufti as a great ally, and of course, he had a great regard for the Muslim world, because
Not a
before,
not a temporary ally.
no, because he went on to say before these alliances that he's regretting that Islam couldn't conquer Europe. So, in fact, he wished that whole
Hmm.
Europe becomes Muslim.
Hmm. Right. Now, since at that phase everyone was trying to be either socialist or Aryan, I'm sure you've heard of Savitri Devi and Ashit Krishna Mukherjee as well, right?
Yes, of course,
Yeah,
very much.
the Bengali Nazis. They
Yes,
believed they were Aryans to such an extent that they actually wrote books on Hitlerism and Nazism in India. And I think the foreword to that book was written by Ganesh Savarkar, Veer Savarkar's
yes,
elder brother.
yes.
They had weird ideas. Now, I have one question to ask you directly from your book. I thought this line was very interesting. You say that this truth wrestles against the narratives flitting through academic halls and progressive dialogues, often bending facts to cast a comforting but deceptive haze. I felt it was no longer a choice but a duty to bring this truth to light, especially for Bharat, where an unsettling trend of denial has crept into our collective consciousness. Why is it your duty? Who cares if this
Because
lie goes on?
yes, that's I saw it as a duty, because no one was really picking. See, when it comes to even in the time of now, the debate of Israel Palestine is very much limited to our drawing rooms when we like to see the news, or we just want to know that what's happening in Middle East. But are we really consciously aware that the battle what Israel is fighting is for whole of the world? I understand that Israel is ally of America, and America can never be a great ally of Hindustan. I have no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But Israel is a country which stood with us despite being ally of America in 1971,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So, in fact, that is the time when USA was supporting Pakistan,
Yeah.
and of course, Israel was ally of America. So they had no reason to support India, but they choose to support India. They supported India in the Kargil war, and India was as late as 1991, 92 to fully officially recognize Israel, right? So, but still there are thoughts in India which says that it doesn't matter that what happens, it's because we don't realize that what is the brute of the Islamism, how it hits you, because we are still living in a setup where still things are quite easier compared to what Israel goes through. Like every day, they are always in a situation they never know that where the bomb will come from, where a missile is going to hit them, right? When a terrorist attack will happen, they are always constantly living, and the way they are surrounded, all the hostile neighbors, and they have never lost a battle, but they have been facing the threat right from 1948, like at least in the modern setup. Of course, the Jews have been facing it since, but they learned their lesson. They built the nation, which is a Jewish nation, Jewish state. But India has never fell through it. So through this book, I saw it as a duty that perhaps this can be an awakening to make people realize that what kind of ideologies we are dealing with, whether it's Kerala, whether it's Bengal, or anywhere, wherever the things do happen. It is really a problem. We know the case of Jogendranath Mandal, but we have forgotten it. That what letter he
Yeah.
wrote back, and he
Hmm.
was a supporter of the Pakistan. Kafir is a kafir, whatsoever it may come. And two, even there was a section of Indians even after October, the Palestine. Many said that it never happened. It's all the hawks created by Israel, right? Israel tells lies and whatnot, and obnoxious things were being said. So it looked like a duty to be done. But before that, only this duty was up for me before October 7 happened, because I had fairly got impressed by the Israeli approach to their geopolitics, Israeli approach to their enemies, which I personally believe that India needs to become like Israel, should it feels to exist for very long as Bharat, right? और इस नाम में क्या रखा है, लेकिन मतलब as a consciousness and a ethos, if you really want to be Bharat, you have to be like Israel. You have to know who your enemies are. It does not mean shutting down Muslims. It does not shutting down other religions, right? But it means to be prepared to pick the battle, as in how you should have the Shatru both, which India fails to have completely. So that's why I saw that no one is picking the example of the global politics, as in how it is, and we rarely see any Indian picking up the geopolitical, and that too from a historical point of view. Who cares that what happened in World War II? Though we lost more soldiers than many countries in World War II, but that is also what people don't know about. So it looked like an incumbent duty to me, and that's why this book came through.
Hmm. Now, Abbas as a proud Hindu who's also a nationalist, how do you see Romanis and how do you see Romani Jewish relationships? Because Nazis did atrocities against them as well. But
Yes,
since Romanis have had a tendency of, let's say, being infamous for being thieves and stuff, they completely ignored that part. That yes, they
yes,
were kind of our comrades in being victims as well, and they just ignored that they were victims just simply because they used to be thieves. What do you have to say for that?
yes. No, again, you're raising a very right point. So there are a lot of sect which suffered because of the Nazis. The
Hmm.
Romanis are one of them, apart from the
Hmm.
Jews, but they have been never spoken about. And
And do you consider Romanis to be our people in some way or the other?
yes, yes, very much. And if you
Right.
start to look at the historical linkage, you will find a lot of linkages because of the. If you get to the Rig Vedic history, etc., all those era, you will find a lot of relations. It's not that there is no relation at all. And apart from that, they being so there are two things where we all agree as a common minimum program that we all stand against atrocities, whichever form it may come through. Say that had Israel been doing atrocity on the Palestinian, it's not that I wouldn't have said that no, they are, but they are not doing atrocity. If they would have wanted to do a genocide, they would have done it in one afternoon. It's Israel is as advanced as it could get to destroy a land like Palestine in a day. They could do it, but they did not do it. We principally agree that we will always stand with anybody who has faced atrocity as a voice for them. And the Romani people surely are one of them who faced the atrocity of the Nazis, and we must stand at it, irrespective of the historical connections and civilizational connections and etc. what we have.
Will you ever bring it up to any Israeli people that why don't they ever speak up for them? And in fact, see, I have been to a Zionist girl's podcast many times, and she has been on my podcast many times as well. Once I brought up Romanis, and she got very very pissed off that why am I being even equated with Romanis because they were thieves. And at that point, that very moment, I did not push back really hard, but later I remembered that wait, what the fuck? Victim is a victim whether they are thieves or not, and it's not like uh, they were happily being thieves. They have had faced atrocities so many times, they have been displaced so many times, hence they chose the easiest profession. So do you have any plans to convince them to bring Romanis into the picture?
Of course, I am very unapologetic about my stance, and this is my stance, and so I will be very unapologetic about it. I am sure that Jews are going to take it in consideration. It's not about comparing Romanis with the Jews. The point is that the Romanis
Hmm.
also faced the atrocity of the Nazis. They were the victims, and we
Yeah.
need to address it. It's not that
Hmm.
we are not going to shut it away, and will not say a word about it. And that's
Hmm.
a see why Hindus are unique people, because when we have persecuted none, and even this whole story
Hmm.
of Hindus persecuting Buddhis are all bull and crap or
Hmm.
story. Nothing like that happened. And
Hmm.
as far as the Jews are concerned, we gave, and they acknowledge it, that we are the people
Yeah.
who never did any kind of discrimination with them. We are the only people who did no atrocity, no persecution, no sense of thing which can be deemed as a hatred against them. Right.
Hmm.
So, in that case, how do we, so when we work with such principle, we always expect
Hmm.
that the people also follow this principle. That's only how the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam can exist. And I will
Hmm.
surely make this point to the Jewish people I know, that these are the things which
Hmm.
needs to be considered. It's
Hmm.
important. It's not about that
Hmm.
who that person. It's more important that who face the wrath of the enemy, of your enemy too.
Hmm.
It's not just you. Like today, if Hamas is doing atrocity against somebody, we should speak about it too, right? It doesn't matter
Hmm.
that who that person is. Today, it so happens that
Hmm.
Hamas did it against the Jews. Had it not been the Jews, somebody else, we would have spoken about it
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Abhasji, this will be my second last question. My last question will be about Taj Mahal. My second last question is this is one criticism I have for you in the book, and I'll explain the reason. Tell me if I'm getting the reason wrong. One of the angles that you seem to be pursuing in the Hitler book is that, see, Hindutwadis are accused of being Nazis and stuff, but Nazis hated Jews and Hindutwadis don't hate Jews, therefore they are not Nazis. But isn't that kind of intellectually dishonest? Because when commies call Hindutwadis Jews, Nazis, they actually mean that they will be doing atrocities on the minorities of this country, just like Hitler did to the minorities of their country. Am I getting something wrong?
No, you are very correct. And so the whole point is that I will explain that logic which I brought in picture, and I'm glad that you brought it up.
Hmm.
So the communists tend to accuse Hindutva of Nazism through this point that RSS is inspired from the Nazism. And also, the Hindu Mahasabha had the roots in the idea of fascism and Nazism. That's where they talk about. They quote about Munje going and meeting, etc. Those things come into the picture. Now, you spoke a little about the Bengali Nazis, right? Those also not. I'm glad that you brought it up, but not many people in Hindutva circle or many in the communist circle are also not aware of it, right? And but I discussed this point with one of Jews openly about this, that it's not the case that it was not there, but larger picture is that the fountainhead of the modern Hindutva movement, which you abuse day in day out, is Savarkar, right? Like RSS and every organization which took inspiration from the Hindutva of Savarkar, the way he trying to define it. And he's the first politician who took a stand to acknowledge the existence of a Jewish state, and he said that the Jewish state must come. Right, he was the first politician to do it. So now here is the Indian politician who is the fountainhead of modern Hindutva. He is saying that I support the Jewish cause, Zionism to be precise, because Zionism was about getting the home state. Right, he's supporting the Zionism, and the Nazis' whole movement was against Zionism, as in against, or rather, if I put this, it was against the Jews' homeland right. It was all against that, and later on they collaborated with the Muslims to really realize it. If one can have an argument that Hitler just wanted that they get out of Palestine and Germany and go to wherever they want to go, it's all fine, but that's not the case, because Hitler later on collaborated with them to kill or exterminate them even in Palestine. So he wanted them to be killed. So now we are accusing somebody or some movement or say some idea which is that is Hindutva, whose fountainhead went way against all other Indian politicians who is succumbing to the idea was Hitler was subscribing. As in, Hitler wanted there shouldn't be any Jewish home state later on. He wanted them to be annihilated. And Indian
Yeah.
politicians literally went on to support the allies of the Nazis, that is the Palestinian.
Hmm.
Yasser
Hmm.
Arafat, who was a nephew of the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, he
Hmm.
went on a record to say that the womb of the Palestinian women are my biggest weapon, right? And So we hosted him. We saw him as a great leader and whatnot. Still, the examples were given till recent time by Priyanka Gandhi and whatnot. It did happen, and we were hosting the terrorist kind of people. We were very open about it. But he was somebody. So now, how we can do that comparison? It's not practically possible. And practically speaking, India, there were some writings. I will not shy off to say there were some writings which praised, spoke about the Hitler doing great thing by about how maybe that we should replicate. All those ideas did come from say Goldwalker's work, etc. It did happen, but the point is that how much practical execution of that happened. But the practical execution has always been done by the Muslim group. They believe, as I mentioned earlier about Judgment Day. Are they going to deny that they don't believe in the concept of Judgment Day? Are they going to deny that the nothing like the annihilation of Jews will not happen? Can they deny it? No, they can't, right? So practically, they did everything what they allege Hindutva to be doing, but Hindutva never did it. Right? Today also, Hindutva is very pacifist if you look at this way, and perhaps Hindutva is only looking for assimilation and bringing everybody together. And it's and in fact, the constitution drafted by Hindu Mahasabha was more secular than our
Yeah.
constitution,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So it's really very novice of the communists to call Hindutva as Nazi inspired when somebody else is doing it, in fact.
Yeah. Abbasji, just one second last question, because this is a pretty important but fun, almost funny one. Can Africans go to different parts of the world and settle down claiming that first people came out of Africa, so all places in the world belongs to them?
Well, they can settle down and nobody is going to stop them from doing it. And they can get the citizenship. There's a process to get it. There's a democratic way to do it. No one is stopping them to do it. And of course, we would be but is it really the case that they are going to move out from there? No, they are not, because they are well settled there. Many of them have either submitted to the will of the Allah, or a lot of things has happened, so they won't be even interested, because many are believing in Ummah. So when Ummah comes, so
Yeah.
but anyway,
okay, now, yeah, go ahead.
but no one is going to object them if they want to get citizenship of a country.
No, but what if they want? They say that no, therefore we are going to set up our own country and settlement now, and that's going to be it. We are going to be the guys running it because everyone came from Africa, and this is not really your land. This is African land.
So see, the Jews were not claiming it. Jews never said that we are going to go back to Palestine, but they were being persecuted everywhere. Who is persecuting Africans everywhere?
Right.
No one.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Now the last question, Abbasji, what about Taj Mahal? What was beneath it, and what was demolished to create it? What do you believe? What do you think is the truth?
So see, there's a very nuanced thing, but still I will be brief about it. And the point is that, see, few things are very clear, that there's a Hindu structure underneath. There is no doubt about it. And because you can't build foundation in such a short span, and foundation of such a structure would take a maximum time. And we have the record which talks about Raja Man Singh's Haveli, or the mansion, being given for the building of the illuminated tomb. It is very much clear.
Exactly. That's one of the reasons that I have never believed that anything was demolished, because there have been clear documents that, here, take this land away. I'm giving it to you.
Yeah. So there's two things to it. See, there are two cases to it. Even if say that they did partial demolition, because some parts of the demolished part were found by Cunningham, and he mentions in an ASI report of 1874. It's a report for the year 1872-73, published in 1874. So in that he talks about the parts which look like a Hindu structure, which were lying in the courtyard of the Taj Mahal. Okay, this is what he says, and he finds them a few miles from the Taj Mahal site, and he says that this is certainly a Hindu architecture. So now, what may would have happened that the structure would have been given. They can't demolish it, because demolition also takes a bit of time. It's not easy to demolish it so fast, right? And
there was no Yogi Adityanath back then. Yeah.
bulldozers were not there, so it was not so easy. Even if you use dynamite, which was
Yeah.
it was not so simple to destroy it through blasting, and you can destroy everything but not the foundation, right? If you want to
Hmm.
remove the foundation. And it's very common that even when you look at the case of Ram Mandir, so foundation was retained, right? A lot of structure was whatever fall that was also integrated, and even if they would have demolished the upper part of the structure, few things would have been taken care. So one thing is for sure, the foundation existed, they couldn't remove it, they never removed it. So as a great foundation work, because it takes care of the water from the Yamuna, it's a great engineering, a great Rajput architecture feat, right? And then the first time the marble is asked from Raja Jai Singh just in the month of September, which is a year after the death of Mumtaz. So in a year, you will not need marble, because you will not need marble until you have finished the foundation. You can't finish the foundation so fast in a year for that large of a case of a building, when rain is also a factor. We received
Right.
around 4 months of rain, so you can't work in monsoon. So a lot of project management and construction based analysis leads you understand that foundation was
Hmm.
not built by then. And
Right.
so there may have been that they would have demolished 50% from the top, 50% would have been retained, or 60-40, something or something other. But it surely is not completely built by Shah Jahan, right? He
Hmm.
did something for sure, but not entirely built by Shah Jahan. So it cannot
Hmm.
be seen as a complete legacy of Shah Jahan, though it
Hmm.
may be a bit of a loud claim right now with the given evidence as of now that it was a temple complex entire. It may not be the temple complex, but it was a Hindu structure for sure, right?
Hmm.
So, and in Hindu structure also you can find, because today also in every house there's a puja room, right? A puja ghar, what we call.
Right. Right.
So there may be, may not be, and it's practically impossible to go and claim everything, right? Is it practically really viable to do it? But the point is that at first we must start to acknowledge the fact that it was a Hindu structure underneath, at least the foundation.
Hmm.
Some parts of it is Hindu, but people are living in denial that, and that's why I often say that my words can, hurt both left and right, because I am not saying that
Hmm.
it is entirely a temple complex, which many people will like it to be like. But I am not denying this fact too, that it was certainly had a foundation of a Hindu structure, and even on top also a lot of part was already Hindu. He just did some
I
kind of a
see.
restoration work or etc. So this is what the evidences show you, right? And in fact, then there's a farman which came in 1633, where four havelis was given to Raja Jai Singh. So,
Hmm.
it took around 4 years, 1 year to close a deal. If say that it was a voluntary exchange, as leftists
Hmm.
are making a claim today, it was a voluntary exchange. Then it took
Right.
1 year to close a deed, etc. And that to the four
Hmm.
Havelis which were given, that too belonged to some Rajputs. So only the Havelis were returned. It was not
Hmm.
that he was given something which never belonged to his family. He was just returned few Havelis, which once upon a time belonged to them. It was just
Hmm.
returned back, right? So,
Right.
and later on in 1637, 37, we find Farman. Further, Shah Jahan asking Jai Singh to, let the workers come and work, because he has held them. He's not letting them come to work. As in, it means that Jai Singh is not very happy with the deal, right? Whatever has happened. So maybe that it was
Hmm.
not as voluntary as we are expecting. It was not just a gifting away. There was a force to it or something. Jai Singh was not very happy for sure.
I see. That's the only thing I want to know about the Taj Mahal situation. That was it like the Holy War destruction of other temples? Was it that kind of a situation, or was there
No,
some business deal gone
no,
sour
no.
somewhere?
Somewhere it was a deal, but that deal was not very voluntary. Like we see that some sign that there is some opposition from Raja Jai Singh. Is not very happy with it, but it was not just violent. Go and destroy what I think never happened.
So it was like a mafia doing a deal. That it's a deal in the end, but it's an offer you can't refuse, essentially.
It's almost like that.
I see. Okay. Thank you then, Abbasji. It was a great, great conversation. It was a lot of fun to talk about these
Yes,
things with
it
you.
was all my pleasure.
Hope to have you back soon with us. What is your next book, by the way?
Oh, a lot going on. So one is Akbar, which is in pipeline for sure. I'm looking to do something
Okay.
around history of terrorism post World War II, as in how history, how, like, and just to give a bit of clue about it, how America played a role in creation of Al Qaeda, etc., etc. All those things, that how this terrorism did began to happen, and of course, Akbar is going on, and I'm doing to looking to do a book on what was India like in Ice Age.
Ah, nice, nice. That will be a lot of fun. One personal audience request from me as well: a book on Romanis, please.
Oh, sure. I'm so definitely a good food for thought. I'm going to start looking at it. Thank you.
Yeah, because I think we have pretty much lost the modern day Romanis as well, because all of them know that yes, their ancestors were from India, but they have really bought into the idea that they were kicked out by Brahmins because of casteism. That's what I see in Romani discussion forums. What the hell? So
Yes,
some clarification on that would be great.
for sure.
Okay. Thank you, Abbasji. Good night. Thank you, guys.
Good
See you
night.
at 7:30 with another guest. See you soon. Bye bye.
যদি সবাই ফিরে যায় ওরে ওরে ও ভাগা সবাই ফিরে যায় যদি গহন পথে যাওয়ার কালে কেউ ফিরে না যায় তবে পথের কাটা তুই রক্ত মাখা চরণ তলে একলা দলরে তুই রক্ত মাখা চরণ তলে একলা দলরে যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে যদি আলো না ধরে ওরে ওরে ও ভাগা আলো না ধরে যদি ঝড় বাদলে আধার রাতে দুয়ার দেয় ঘরে তবে বজ্রানলে আপন বুকের পাঁজর জ্বালিয়ে নিয়ে একলা জলরে আপন বুকের পাঁজর জ্বালিয়ে নিয়ে একলা জলরে যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে একলা চলো একলা চলো একলা চলো একলা চলো